So I mentioned, make sure my volume's on. I mentioned for anyone got this invite, just go drag this FiberPlanIT RDP link onto your desktop. I already have it there. And when you go into it, it'll ask you to log in, and you use the original password you got from Tilson. You'll have to put your email in as well as the username. And then you only have to do that once on your computer, and then it will always remember you. So on this machine we have ArcMap, which is the program we'll use. The way, when it comes up, you won't be able to see ArcMap on there, so if you go to the start menu and you do search, you can find, search for ArcMap, all one word, and you can open it from there. And then the trick is, once you open it, right click on it down here and pin it to your taskbar, and then you never have to search for it again. So in the file structure on this machine, we all have access to the C drive. So if you go to C drive, there's a folder for drafting maps, which we put some of the small cell work we did in the same folder. But you see in here there's a schematic maps folder, and then within that a place to put data and a place to put the MXDs, which the MXDs are the ArcMap document, which is what we bring data into and symbolize it to make the maps. So, you know, and we can manage this however, you know, we really want. So if this doesn't end up working out, we can always change it. So the first thing we do is go to 3GIS to download data. So I just have zoomed here. It's somewhere in Atlanta. I assume everybody's familiar with the export tool in 3GIS. I would activate that tool, select the fiber cables that I want to export. I was thinking, there's another way to select via a polygon. So if you did have a specific work order, you could select that polygon and then export just what was on that polygon. But it should be easy enough for these fiber cables, because they're big long lines, to just grab the ones you want and export them. And if you get too many, you can always delete them out once you get an ArcMap. So we're going to pick file geodatabase as the export file type here, and just hit export, the little paper clip. It comes in with this funny name, and I was just I was thinking we could name it you know, ATL, and then work order name, and then the date, something like that, just so you know what portion of the data you pulled out. So once you have that data, you can go see it. I put it in the data exports folder, and it's just a zip file now. But we can just extract it here. Oh wow, that's surprising. We've run out of space in the machine. Let me just free some up. I will talk to Larry about that. So when it exports, it'll put it into a folder, and the GDB is always going to be called this export file GDB. But if it, you know, you can just keep it in that folder, then it should be organized enough, and then you can just delete the zip file. So then we just open ArcMap. Oh man. Just enough space. And so all we're going to do is bring the cables in. We're going to symbolize them by buried and aerial, and then we're going to. There's a little bit of code that you can put into the labeling function to get it to put it in a nice little box. I guess I should have showed you what we're going for first. Let me see. I can do that as well. So there's our blank ArcMap, and then when the other one comes up, I'll just pull it up and show you what we're going for here. So when you open ArcMap for the first time, you'll probably need to click on this little yellow button here to get the catalog view, which is like kind of how you get your data in ArcMap. If you click on that, it'll pop open. You can hit the little pin to make it stay there, and then go to your folder connections. When you open it for the first time, you're not going to have any folder connections, so you have to right click on that and say connect to a folder, and then just point it at that schematic maps folder on this PC, local disk, drafting, and then click once on schematic maps, and then click once on OK, and it will add one of these connections up here. So then when you go in to your data exports, you can see that export file GDB that you exported, and you can see that these are the fiber cables that you exported, and you just pull those in. So there are our lines. So this is what we're going for. We're going to symbolize the lines red and blue, and then we're going to put some code into the labeling to make it look like a nice call-out box, and then I'll show you how to move those around and make a layout like this and just be able to export it to an image. So from scratch. First thing is you can go to the properties of this layer here by double-clicking on it, and you can go to symbology and then categories over here, and scroll down. There's a ton of fields in here because it's all the FIM requirements, but just look for, you can type in a T for, we're looking for type name. So if you type in T and then T, and then you get it on the third try down here, and you can say add all values, and you see it's just aerial and buried cable in those fiber cables. You can uncheck that, and you can say for aerial, you click once on the highway, and then you just change the aerial to be blue, like the default blue. Okay, and buried can just be this highway red line. Alright, so we get red and blue lines. And then we want to label them with that box. So we go to labels, and I just double click on the layer again, and we can go to expression, and then we can go to that calendar invite, and I put the code in here. So what this does is just takes a whole bunch of data from the fiber cables, and it tells it to put little tags in there. So like it'll put the word type in a colon, and then it will say then get the actual type name and display it, and then make a new line and do that same thing again. So okay. Let's see. Oh, I copied too much. Oh, if it doesn't work, then you forgot to check the box on the labeling, where you just say yes, label them. And then you get these nice labels. So we're going to modify these a little bit. If you go back to that labeling window and say, first of all, placement properties just horizontal, so they're not following the line. If I hit apply, you can see that I'll just make them do that. And then if you go to the symbol, and you go to edit symbol, advanced text, this is where the video will be helpful. Text background, properties, I like the one with the rounded edges, and then if you go to symbol you can make that white or whatever color background you want, and then go all the way back through and just hit OK. Once you get here you might want to hit save as, so you always have it saved in your list over here, and then OK, and then OK. So now we have nice labels. So one other thing to add once you're at this point is the background maps. So there's instructions in the calendar invite again, but we're going to need to grab this web address. You can, in ArcMap, tell it to go to the internet and grab some tiles that they've created to show as a background map. And the way to do it, you connect down here. It's probably going to be collapsed. You go down to GIS servers and say add ArcGIS server, and you say use, next, and you just paste that address in and finish. And I've done it twice, so I have two of these. But once you go into this thing, also under GIS servers, you see a bunch of map options. The one you see in 3GIS is this Esri Street Map World 2D. I believe World Imagery is the same air photo that they use in 3GIS. But you can just pull these, drag these from catalog into the map, and you get the background. And we're almost done. The last thing to do is to be able to move these labels around so they're not sitting on the lines. You can't do it automatically. I was trying to, but you can right click on it and say convert labels to annotation, and say in the map. It's the only change, and convert. Then there's this toolbar called the drawing toolbar, that if you don't have that toolbar, you can right click at the top and you get a list of all of them, and you just check on this one, draw, and you take the pointer and you can click on the labels now that they've been converted. Whoop. Like I said, you can click on the labels and drag them off, and they'll keep that little pointer on there, so it's pretty easy. Even if you had 20 of these, it would take 5 minutes to move them. It's just running a little slow right now. I think this is the space on the hard drive issue, which we will solve before. If this is just talking about a buried cable here, you could move this over a little bit. So great, right? So you could, at this point, just take a screenshot of this and call it a day. Or you can create a layout. Creating a quick, easy layout is I'll just show you. There's these two little buttons down here. So you flip to your layout view to make a map. So you click on the other one, and you see it comes in at a regular 8.5 by 11 page. So the first thing I like to do is kind of estimate, probably want a landscape page layout, so like maybe just go in and flip it to landscape, which those options are in if you go to File, Page, and Print Setup. And doesn't matter what printer you have it set to, you just can uncheck Use Printer Paper Settings and then tell it what size you want it to be, or just pick Landscape. So we'll do OK, and then the only thing left to do is move the data frame, they call it, a little bit. I just like to take one corner and then just do the other corner, just because it's quick. And then on the map, you might want to zoom in a little bit. So there's this, you see there's two toolbars here. So one of these is for layouts and the other one is for the data. CAD people are familiar with this. This one with a page behind it will zoom you in on the actual page. And this one with no page behind it will just zoom you in on the data that's being shown on the page. So you can basically draw a box around the extent of your data. And you get a nice map. One thing I did on the other one was just made this background map a little bit transparent. So if you go to the properties that I just double clicked on it and go to advanced and then change that to like 35%. You have to click again on that menu for some reason for it to take hold, but then once you have it, it's like that. And then the last step is just you can export this, so File, Export, and you can pick a whole bunch of options. PDF, JPEG, or PNG is what I imagine we'd be using. JPEG or PNG is over 150 DPI typically. PDF, 300 DPI, and then just have this resample ratio up to the best. And then if you go, you can navigate back to that. Your C drive, drafting maps, schematic maps, and maybe there's a folder for map exports. ETL test. Yeah, I think part of this was going to be, other things we could do with that, but as far as I know, that's basically was all the things we needed. All the things we needed were actually in those labels. So
originally they had it. This was going to be in the CAD drawing itself, but now it's going to be a separate page to be submitted with the GDB. There is new guidance on the schematic that goes with the CAD drawing, unless they want to see the level of detail.
Oh, really?
A level of detail where they can see which side of the road this is being constructed on. So, that's
be great. Just put it. Chris, are you done with the?
What?
Are you like done with the training as far as?
Oh yeah, that's basically all I wanted to show you in terms of that's how to make that specific one. So yeah, we can move on. Let me just. Oh. Stop this guy.